Yeah, you're right, Mike. And Huxley says in that piece, we will actually get people to love their servitude. Now, one of the things I want to give you so much credit for is the courage to take a look at painful things like false flag terrorism. You posted a piece on your site. We don't have to get into this very deep, but I want to give you full credit for having the courage to not only look at the 9/11 official story, but to encourage others to look at it. Because what has become the official mythology or religion in this country is that we cannot question what happened on 9/11. But let me tell you, folks, what happened on 9/11 has put everything else that we're seeing, this tyrannical police state, in motion, including the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, the TSA, et cetera, et cetera. And so to not have the courage to look at what happened that day is really a lost opportunity because, Mike, I can tell you firsthand, for me, if it weren't for that day, I might still be asleep.
Yeah, no, you know what's funny? I mean, I've written about this, Sean, but for me, I mean, I woke up a little late, you know. I was in Wall Street, you know, that can be mesmerizing, et cetera, and so I admittedly was asleep longer than I should have been. But, you know, 9/11, I couldn't come to grips with that forever, way after I woke up. Not that I thought 9/11 truth or anything like that, or questioning was wrong, but I just didn't want to go there because I saw it. I saw people dying. I saw it live. You know, I just psychologically was broken. But the point is that if someone like me, who was completely against exploring that rabbit hole, was able to finally do it and understand with zero doubt that the story we're told is complete nonsense, then anyone can. And Building 7, of course, was what did it for me. I saw that, and I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And no one even knows about it. I mean, I have friends at, like, trading desks in New York that I talk to that will post in, like, internal chats being like, Building 7. And these are people who live in New York City. No idea about Building 7. Don't even know it existed, right? That's how effective the mainstream media is at putting people to sleep. But here's another thing I want to mention. And I've been following whistleblowers, NSA whistleblowers, very closely, two of them in particular. Thomas Drake, who's great. Follow him on Twitter if you're on there. He's awesome, American hero. But the other guy is Bill Binney, and the last name is Binney. And he resigned from the NSA. He was senior, very senior in the NSA. After, you know, late 2001. But he says that the government, the NSA, started spying on American citizens aggressively in early 2001. And his point was like, these guys were already getting the whole thing set up to spy on citizens, and then after 9/11, it was all ready to go. So this is a very, very long-term plan by a very small group of parasitic psychopaths that want to take over this country, and they are willing to do anything to do it. So people need to wake up to that completely.
Yeah, you have a lot of courage, and I really respect that about you. Now, for folks to whom this information is new, take a look at WTC7. Take a look at the NIST report, which took 7-8 years for them to come out with an explanation for the collapse of WTC7 because they refused to look at the possibility that explosives were involved. Therefore, they could not explain the collapse of that building. Take a look at the PNAC documents, Project for New American Century. This thing, the rabbit hole goes very, very deep. Anybody interested who has the courage to look at it, we both, I think, encourage you to do so. Mike, before we let you go, I want to ask you about something very, very important. I'm calling it Liberty's Last Hour, and it's this idea of gun control, whether it's through the United Nations or, as has been buried in this new cybersecurity bill, a gun control measure which, and I quote, says, makes it illegal to transfer or possess large-capacity feeding devices such as gun magazines, belts, feed stripes, and drums of more than 10 rounds of ammunition with the exception of 22 caliber rimfire ammo. Now, Mike, what they're going to do is come after the guns, and I've always been afraid that if they do that is the ultimate line in the sand for the American people because neither you nor I want a shooting war. We just want our liberty back. What do you make of this attack on the Second Amendment?
Okay, again, same thing, right? I mean, the NDAA signing that, saying we're going to just throw people in jail without trial, okay, we'll call you a terrorist. It's all of these things that you see the establishment doing. You take the Bill of Rights, right, and then just try to cross off each one of them, and that's what they're doing with various legislation and various acts. So they're showing their hand. It's from a point of weakness, but yes, they're serious. Of course, they don't want. Look, slaves are disarmed. Period. Right? Slaves are disarmed. Okay? We are not going to be slaves. We are not slaves. I have people on my blog all over the place, and I have no military background or connections. I have high-ups in the military all over telling me and through other people, you know, I will never fire on American citizens. I'm ready. People are ready. People know what's going on. The government, I mean, if they're that stupid to try to take the guns, you know, then they'll get what they deserve, whatever that means. And I don't know what that means, and I hope that there's absolutely zero violence in overthrowing these people. So let's just hope that that's what happens. But they'd have to be insane to try to go take guns away. I can't imagine. I know that they want to do it, but it'd be really stupid.
What a great conversation. You're buoying me here now, because I've always been clinging to the cause of liberty. I will continue to do it. I will continue to fight for it. And to speak with somebody like you who's so proactive and upbeat about all of this really, I think, is great for all of us to hear, Mike. I want to thank you for that. But before I let you go, we got to talk about gold and silver. But I want to circle back, and I want to say that I think you're right about this whole idea that they are completely acting from a state of weakness, because what they wanted to happen was they wanted the 9/11 spell to continue to hold. And that curtain, that man behind the curtain has been exposed. And so when they try to pin everything on our Middle Eastern enemies and the Muslim boogeyman and Osama bin Laden and the whole thing, the whole spell has been broken for most people, for a lot of people anyway, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah, and look, everything they're trying to do, right, a war with Iran, take the guns, put people in jail without trial. As far as I'm concerned, a lot of these cases I'm following, they're failing. Right? They're talking a big game, but they're not. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems to me, right? It's like that quote, Shakespeare, like, there's a tide in the affair of men, right? I mean, there is a tide in the affair of men and in the affairs of men, and we are on one of those tides. And the tide, in my opinion, without a doubt, the universal force that is existing on this planet at this moment is pushing these guys into oblivion. And they're fighting, and they're whining, and they're crying, and they're stamping their feet, but their days are numbered. They're done.
Yeah, I think you're right, because if the spell hadn't been broken, then I think me and so many others would be like, "Yep, we need these wars, because if we don't go to them, they're going to bring it to us." Yeah, I think you're right.
Exactly. Look, John, the fact that we know what's going on, the fact that more people are waking up every day, is proof that their plan is failing. Look, if they were going to succeed, me and you and millions of others would still be asleep.
No, that's right. All right.
Right?
We're so totally on the same page. And this is why it's so great to have conversations with like-minded people, because I got to tell you, I was at a party over the weekend with neighbors, and, talking about these issues is not easy. I try to do it, and, sometimes I make a fool of myself in front of people that don't want to hear it. But for every 4 that don't want to hear it, one will say, tell me more. Where are you getting this information? And that's what it's all about. Fight the good.
And you're planting seeds, too.
Fight the good fight.
Later on, they'll remember.
I always say that. Johnny Appleseed. I'm just spreading seeds.
Hey, this is what we're on this planet to do, I think. So we got to do it.
I think so. Well, let me ask you this now. For those that really visit my website and yours to learn more about precious metals and the ownership of physical assets, as we see these paper assets crumble around us, what's your take on precious metals right now at these levels moving forward? What are you telling people? Allocation, all that stuff.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sean. So I've been sort of quiet or somewhat cautious just, much of this year on particularly the miners for a lot of the year, and then even the metals saying, yes, of course you want to have it. It's the only place to hide. But, it's an election year. The manipulation of the markets was crazy. They're sort of throwing a last-ditch effort, I think, in trying to put people back to sleep. And a huge part of that is, of course, making metals seem bad. But I would say now, if anyone's been on the sidelines to waiting on the metals to buy physical, which is what you really should be doing unless you're a professional investor, and then that's a whole other topic. You got to be stacking. You got to buy gold and silver, physical coins, own it, hold it, don't put it in a bank, and I would be increasing allocation right now. Again, don't ever go crazy and throw everything in it at once, because these guys, obviously, as we know, never quit. But I do believe that this is a good time to be increasing your exposure, because A, you just had a 12-month period of huge consolidation, particularly in gold. And silver, it's been longer, about 18 months. And then number 2, this is the seasonally strong period for metals, particularly gold. This is when most of the gains historically are made in gold. It's in the next 4 or 5 months. So, nothing is certain in life, obviously, but this seems like a pretty good setup to increase your allocation. So I would do that. Yeah,
and you know what? For those who are out there and love to troll these types of videos and tease us for talking about the paper manipulation of the metals, J.P. Morgan, HSBC, et cetera, Mike, as posted on your website and mine, we see this senior HSBC banker has recently plummeted to his death. Michael Foreman, 48 years old, fell off the 5th floor balcony in the members bar area of the gallery on the South Bank last last Tuesday evening. He was a senior HSBC banker, had been there for 30 years, and HSBC, as we all know, on the record, is subject to all sorts of criminality for its money laundering, for drug cartels, et cetera, and, here HSBC is the custodian for the GLD ETF, and that's the punchline to this whole paper Ponzi story,
isn't it? It's
almost
like they're laughing at you,
Right?
Yeah, no, it's a joke, right? I mean, obviously, if you own GLD, I think you're insane. It's been shown time and time again. Look, the point of owning precious metals, period, end of story, is no counterparty risk. There are lots of reasons, but at the end of the day, it's something where you can have a lot of wealth in a small volume, and there's no counterparty. And what that means, of course, if you don't know, is that you're not reliant on anyone else performing on their obligation to give you the asset. Whereas, of course, if you own a paper asset of any kind, you're relying on the other side to make good on that. And even if you have, gold stored somewhere else, there's some sort of counterparty risk. So, just people need to understand that if it's not in your hands, you don't necessarily have it. People really, really need to get that. So my point is, look, if you really understand gold and you understand the system, the monetary system, and you own GLD, you are not thinking this through.
Yeah, and before I let you go, let me just circle back on that, because I do want your take on this story of the HSBC senior banker plummeting to his death, because apparently the banker who lived in Gray's Essex with his wife Janet was reported missing the day before he died, and police are not treating the incident as suspicious, and they're calling it a suicide.
Yeah, that's the best part was the fact that he's missing the day before he died. Can we have some explanation on that? He was missing for the day before he died, and then he jumps off the members only. The whole thing is crazy. Look, when I see stories like this, I don't come out and say, well, this is what happened, this is what he knew, because I don't know. But this is suspicious. And, there's obviously, we've seen more and more stuff come out about HSBC recently. A commenter posted on my blog post about how, the drug laundering, laundering for drug dealers through HSBC, huge fine, right with the LIBOR thing. It's London, which is the shadiest financial place in the history of planet Earth. It's obviously suspicious.
All right. Now, before we let you go, Mike, first of all, thanks for your time. I want you to tell everybody where we can find you, but tell us where we can find you in the future, too, because rumor has it you might be on one of our favorite financial alternative media shows here coming up.
Well, it might be. I'm not gonna go into any details on that one just yet, but hopefully I have an interview with a new show coming up. And of course I'll post that when that happens, and I'm sure you'll also promote it. But please go to Liberty Blitzkrieg, Liberty BLITZKRIEG.com. That's my website, my blog. It's been up for 3 months. It's doing great. I'm really happy for all the support. I started to tweet for the first time. Twitter, I love it. Get great information there. I'm at Liberty Blitz. That's my handle. You can get through it. You can get to it through my website. You can also sign up to get every post I do emailed to you through my website. Please do that. Take some time there. I'm spending a lot more time blogging to try to get the news out. So, and if you like what you see, share it with people. We need to get as many sheeple awake as possible right now, right here. Thanks.
Yeah, and we love what we see. We love what we read from you, and we certainly love what we've heard here today. And, Mike, I can't thank you enough for your time on behalf of everybody listening. Mike Kreiger of LibertyBlitzkrieg.com. Thanks a lot, man. Let's keep in touch and talk again soon.
Absolutely, Sean. It's been my pleasure, and thanks for all your support.
Okay, Mike. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's it, guys. Much more to come. Thanks for tuning in, and visit sgtreport.com for all the latest. Good night.